Your attack helicopter is a powerful gunship, fast and deadly, raining down suppressive firepower when and where it's needed. One of the jobs it does best is to provide escort protection during helicopter-borne operations. You will tax your abilities and the capabilities of your aircraft to the maximum in order to accomplish the mission. Let's look at all the things you've got going for you during an escort mission. First, the ship itself. The twin-engine Sea Cobra is slim, fast, and responsive. Its twin-engine capability gives increased flight safety and combat survivability. Coming in for a dive attack, it reaches 190 knots. And it has the weapons to do the job. In the chin turret, a 20mm automatic cannon with a wide field of fire. On the wings are armament stations for 2.75-inch rockets, smoke grenades, flares, CBU-55 fuel-air explosives, and GPU-2A gun pods that deliver up to 1,500 20mm rounds per minute. Your gunship may carry the wire-guided tow missile or 5-inch Zuni rockets. Finally, you've got a well-researched and thought-out plan going for you.
The zone is presently occupied by a recon team, which was inserted last night, and there'll be no preparatory fires going into the zone unless we take fire.
The briefing tells you what to do, when, and where, and what to expect. The enemy threat, the weather, everything that will help you complete the mission successfully.
Turn-up time will be 0745 with a radio check-in at 0750. I'm Button Brown.
The approach to the landing zone is determined to a large extent by the type of enemy threat that's expected. In a low-threat environment, such as small arms fire and unsophisticated weapon systems, you'll be coming in high, over the threat, then breaking down into the landing zone area. In a high-threat area, you may encounter small arms fire, plus air defense weapons directed by radar, optical, or infrared systems.
So we'll be using the low-level flight mode.
You'll be coming in fast and low for maximum surprise and protection. In your gunship, you'll be in one of 3 basic types of terrain flight as you approach the landing zone. Low level is at a selected altitude, which minimizes the chance of detection. The route is usually in a straight line and is flown at constant speed.
Once we reach baseline alpha, we'll be dropping down to the contour flight mode. In this mode, we'll be traveling probably around 100 feet and 100 knots.
Contour flight is at low level and conforms generally to the contours of the Earth's surface, taking advantage of natural cover. Airspeed and altitude vary as dictated by vegetation and other obstacles.
As we approach phase line Bravo, approximately 5,000 meters out from the landing zone, we'll be dropping down to the nap of the Earth type of flight mode.
Nap of the Earth, or NOE flight, is as close to the ground as the terrain permits. The route of flight is well planned in advance, and the pilot flies a devious path, varying his speed and altitude to take advantage of cover afforded by the terrain.
We'll be utilizing the vegetation to cover our shadow as we progress into the landing zone area.
The briefing described the mission. Now it's up to you to carry it out. A key element in every escort mission is the escort pattern itself. How you and other gunships position yourselves to provide a bubble of protection around the transport craft. The command relationships among the transports and escort ships help make the operation run smoothly. The Helicopter Coordinator Airborne, the HCA, is in overall command. Usually riding in a command and control helicopter, he coordinates the activities of all aircraft and participates in the final selection of the landing zone. The Helicopter Transport Commander is in charge of the transport aircraft and will function as the HCA if one is not assigned. The Flight Coordinator is in command of the escort gunships. This could be you. Now let's look at the escort patterns themselves, beginning with the attached or close patterns. This is the box. It's good in clear areas, over flat terrain, where there are no obstacles. The lead section is out front, where it can scout the area ahead and suppress any enemy threat. The Flight Coordinator is usually the Cobra formation leader and may be assigned navigation responsibility. When the formation turns, the escort sections use combat cruise maneuvers to get to their new positions. The disadvantages of the box are rigidity during formation maneuvers and the need for escort gunships to concern themselves with navigation. Normally, there will be only 2 gunships in a pattern, since there are far fewer gunships than transports. Here's an escort pattern with 2 gunships. This variation gives good protection over open terrain. Now let's look at the other basic escort patterns. In the diamond pattern, the HTC has the navigation responsibility. This means that escorts can maintain lookout integrity and threat suppression. Formation maneuvers are easier. The only disadvantage here is that the lead Cobra gunship would be continuously changing. As we said before, most patterns will have only 2 gunships. The Diamond has 2 such variations. This is the 3 and 9, named for the clock positions of the 2 escort gunships. During formation turns, escorts use combat cruise maneuvers to reach their new positions. This variation of the Diamond is called the 6 and 12, again because of the clock positions of the escorts. In both variations of the Diamond pattern, one of the transports is responsible for navigation, while the Cobras are concerned primarily with protection. There are some basic rules that apply to all escort patterns. Maintain your position during the final approach phase. Don't become preoccupied with a target that's no longer a threat to the transports. Observe fire discipline. Use your ordnance properly, keeping adequate reserves. Maintain radio discipline. And remain alert even if there is no enemy activity. Moving toward the landing zone in a high-threat environment, you'll travel close to the ground for maximum protection. The terrain and encounters with the enemy may dictate other types of close escort patterns. Traveling is a stealthy formation, snaking along the contours of the Earth. The overwatch pattern puts you between the transports and suspected enemy locations. In the bounding pattern, you are dealing with the threats as they appear, while the formation leapfrogs from one cleared area to the next. You will use all available fire consistent with the priority of the mission to minimize the transport's exposure to enemy fire. Diving, running, or hovering. The suppressive fire you deliver on target will provide the margin of success. So far, we've been looking at close, attached patterns in which all aircraft are within visual range. With larger flights of transports, you'll probably use detached or proximity escort tactics, where you range across the broad front of the approach, providing both reconnaissance and protection for the advancing transports. The initial approach will probably be in low-level flight. As the threat increases, you shift to contour, and finally, to nap of the earth flight. At the initial point, a go or no-go decision must be made by the Helicopter Coordinator Airborne, the HCA. If it's a go, he'll depend on you and other gunships to clear the way into the landing zone. But ultimately, you can't hide a large flight of helicopters. The enemy will be ready. In this final phase of approach, the mission may depend on your ability to cause battlefield confusion. Knowing your aircraft and its capabilities, you can provide accurate suppressive fire in support of the transport helicopter during that all-important landing phase. Of course, you maintain fire discipline. General planning might call for using 25% of your ordnance en route, 50% for suppression at the landing zone, and the remaining 25% for the withdrawal flight. This mission was a success because you were well briefed. You flew your escort pattern accurately and alertly. And when the enemy appeared, you had the aircraft, the skill, and the training to complete your mission.